Okay, Stan, so I just went back and found that the feed was not as great as we thought it would be. So I apologize for the internet over here. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through exactly what I said, talking about the pocket. So I had come over to the Montreal Expos in 1999, halfway through the season. Signed with them. I'm up in Ottawa, and first day I get there, I'm grabbing my equipment, and I see a gray MVP helmet, and I've only seen them on television, never wore one. So me, I'm just like, I'm grabbing it. I put it on. I'm like, this is awesome. I can see better. I'm wearing it. So the only thing was it was gray. All the other gear was black. So I took a couple sets of gear and then ended up going to the store that night, buying some silver spray paint, spray painted chest protector, shin guards, completely silver. So I looked like a stormtrooper the next day. Anyways, since then I've been hooked on all-star gear. When I told your dad about that, he sent me a glove. So that was it. That was how I started. And then the following year in spring training, we had, it was probably 2-3 weeks into spring training. Everyone's kind of tired, and you're going through just the routine of everything. And it was announced that we were doing early morning work. So we were out there at 7:30 in the morning. It was in Jupiter, so it's super humid and wet, and we're doing all these drills. Well, they didn't have anything back then except those little saucers that the infielders would use, the white foam ones with the straps in the back for your fingers. So we're catching off a machine on one of the fields with these little, foam things on our hand, and, balls are just ricocheting everywhere. And I look at our catching instructor and I go, no offense, but this is useless. This isn't doing anything. I said, if anything, it's teaching bad habits because it's hitting everything here. I said, when do we ever catch a ball here? We catch it up in the net. And he looks at me and he goes, well, Snoozy, he goes, why don't you go ahead and invent something for everybody? He goes, this way we don't have to listen to you complain next time we're out here. So that day we're at, where I'm at lunch at my locker, and I sat there and I said, something, shoot, give me a pen and a sheet of paper. So I literally traced my hand just like that, and I drew the glove I had, which was the CM100TM. I drew that back end and the front end into a little glove. And this is before cell phones. So I went to the administrative office and I ended up faxing to your dad just a sheet. And I just said, hey, take a look at this. I think I might have an idea for something. I think it would help with the stupid drills that we're doing with using infielder devices to catch. And worst case scenario, I think it would help me out and maybe a couple kids along the way. So your dad had, got back to me and he said, hey, this is a pretty neat concept. We're going to do a little research on it, and then we'll, kind of go from there. So I think it was a few weeks later, and they said, hey, we're going to go ahead and, we're going to build this. So anyways, I got a box in the mail one day, and there was probably 5 or 6 gloves, and your dad said, pass them out to whoever you want, and get us some feedback on how this works. So I didn't realize that he had also sent them out to about another 20 or 30 guys to do the same thing. But I would hand them out to other catchers, to my catching coordinator who told me to go invent something, and we just started using it. So when I got it, this is pretty much the same way it looked back then. So the one thing that I always would do with this glove is, I would loosen up the back end, because when I started playing catch, I didn't want it to pop out. So I gave myself a little bit of a pocket. And then when you start using this, the only thing that you have to be is very specific. So if you don't catch the ball specifically in the pocket between your finger and your thumb, you're going to get blasted. And when that happens, it's not going to feel good, because it's not as padded as, like a regular catcher's glove. So, I would sit there and I first start off, playing catch with this thing. How does it feel? Getting it breaking in a little bit, loosen it up here, tighten it up there. And I started getting into drills. Okay, let's work on some transfers, which is, I think this is probably the best glove for any of that stuff. Ball comes in, I'm keep the ball in here, and it's nice and quick. I don't have to close and squeeze. It's literally moving from the glove to my hand, just in there. So I would sit out in batting practice. Everyone's taking BP, and we're out there shagging, and I would literally have a ball in my hand with this glove and just sit there going like this, and all I'm doing is working my transfer. And I would do that continuously without even thinking about it. And then we started to get into different things, and I'm like, well, let me see if I can catch bullpens with this. So I'd put on a little palm guard, batting glove for catchers, and I'd wear that underneath here, and next thing you know, I took the back end and I would get another string, and I would double it up and make it a little bit bigger, and start catching bullpens with it. And then started using it when we were doing blocking drills, or infield and outfield. You're taking balls that are thrown in from the outfield, and you're watching it all the way in, and you're fielding it, making the tag, come up and throwing. So literally, once I had this, I did everything with it. The one thing that I think it allowed me to do was become a better catcher, because my hands improved. From a receiving aspect, catching with this thing, you have to be super specific. If you want to talk about, the keyhole right now, where, you're going to let it just pocket into that net, this was the same thing. If you don't get it specifically right in here, it's going to blow up your finger, or it's going to pop out. So, even with that, I started sliding my fingers down, moving them over a little bit, just to give myself a little bit bigger of a pocket. So when they would throw in, boom, I'd be able to catch it. Now, there's not a ton of padding in here, but, when you're catching bullpens, those guys are letting it rip. They back in the day, we didn't really have guys that were throwing 100 like they do now, but, everyone was over 90s. Everyone had sink and movement on it, and, you go ahead and try to catch that with this thing, you better be locked in, or you better be able to really trust your hands and your eyes. So I would just got really comfortable catching with this thing, and then when I put on my other glove, it'd be a piece of cake. There was nothing that I couldn't do with this glove, and now it's been going for 23 years now. Which is a long time. When this thing first came out, I'd pass it around to people, and we'd sit down there and talk, and just the whole design of it is it's the way that we envisioned it. When I would talk to your dad about, hey, this is what I think we can do with this, or hey, I found another drill we can do with this. It was literally everything. It became a kind of a jack of all trades type of glove. So from a receiving aspect, hitting all your spots off a machine, you can do it live if you trust yourself that much. And once you do that, you can also work every single throwing drill possible. We do tons of those things in spring training. Always when we're catching bullpens, it's, hey, take every fourth or fifth one and pop up like you're going to throw. So we would go ahead and I'd start using these. So the thing that I found is when we would do our throwing drills, my times were always going lower and lower and lower, especially the older I got, where I kind of figured some things out on how to get rid of the ball a little bit quicker, not just rely on my arm, just see how quick it could be in my glove and out of my hand at the same time. So when we would do these drills, whether it was off a machine or whether it was a coach or saying, hey, standing here, we want 3 to third, 3 to second, 3 to first. I'm sitting there just boom, 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 boom. I posted a video this morning on Instagram and Twitter of an old video with me using this, going through progressions of standing up on a knee, not receiving, but from throwing, and then pickoffs to all the bases, and if you slow it down, like the ball you never see any of this. With a transfer, you really don't have to. It's essentially taking the ball and guiding it right into our hand here. When we do this, it's got nothing to do with me closing. It's more of directing. So if I can get the pocket open to the ball coming in, as soon as it's hitting here, all I'm doing is just kind of pushing, turning. This way it's right in my hand and I can get rid of it. What else? From the blocking perspective, I always saw the glove as a extension of our cup. The cups when I played, they really didn't do a whole heck of a lot, and some of my worst experiences were from foul tips. But this is an extension of it. Once again, you have to be very specific to get it in there, as well as your other hand. If you're a guy that puts your hands behind, then you really got to get it buried in there. It's just it just makes you focus. The more that you can focus on this, whether it's catching or throwing or blocking or pop-ups off of a machine or balls coming in from the outfield, that's what you want when you get this. And like I said, for the last 23 years, it's just super fun to, be able to, at the end of the day, me and your dad created something really cool that's continuing to go. So it's 23 years old. It's out of college. It's in pro ball now. So we're, I'm thrilled to death. And, as you know, I'm always trying to, throw out ideas to you guys, just things down the road that might help. Sometimes they're super silly, and other times it's like, maybe that might work, just with the way that the world is today. So, I'll continue to do stuff on my end and continue to help out the kids that I work with or people that reach out to me online, just trying to give catchers an edge, trying to make them quicker, trying to teach them. And at the end of the day, it's all of us guys that have played who are able to translate in words and pass down that information that we learned to allow us to play this game at such a high level, allows us to pass it on to the kids, and you guys are the ultimate vessel for that. So, Stan, I just want to thank you again for having me on here. Sorry that the feed wasn't the greatest. However, I got this for you, and hopefully that can help out. So have a great night. Love what you're doing. Keep up the great work.